we don't export. Tradability is measured by the level of export. When you check the graph there, these are export of goods and services as a percentage of GDP. In Uganda, we are exporting only 17% of our GDP. In Mauritius, they export 38% of GDP. In Korea, they export about 40% of GDP. In Malaysia, they export 65% of GDP. So we need, as private sector, to look at how do we inculcate in ourselves export discipline. And then we work out a plan on what role should government play to support you to export. Usually, we run first to tax. Whenever we have issues of economic conversations in Uganda, we run to tax. Now, government gave free tax to anyone who's going to export 80% of your output. No farm has ever benefited from this tax break. Also, exports in Uganda are not taxed. But even those who want to avoid tax in Uganda, just produce and export 80% of your output. You will not pay any tax. Government gave a corporation tax holiday. So the point is, how do we become competitive? What are the drivers of competitiveness? And then we discuss them here in Chankwanzi, the things which are affecting you, and we address them. I'm ready to listen to that. The fourth reason why our economy is growing when incomes are not changing is the high marginal propensity to import. We are importing a lot of what we can produce here. That's what marginal propensity to import measures. The proportion of your income you spend on imports every year, which imports you have a combination of technology and capacity to produce. And later I will show you some of them. Now, usually me, I use, here there is a lot of light, you will not be able to see. I've used this image for the last about 10 years to explain. I was going to Jinja one day, again to talk to our soldiers in Chimaka about the economy, and I observed something. On Jinja Road, the side which we drive on from Kampala to Jinja is smooth, relatively smooth. The other side which comes from Jinja to Kampala is rough. It has actually sunk in certain areas. It used to be so pronounced around Weyogerere Namanve. Now they have repaired the road. So one side of the road has sunk in, the other side is okay. One time I asked my students, why do you think this is the state of our road? They said it is because of corruption of UNRA. They don't fix roads well. Now, there, somebody was as if saying that the UNRA thieves are so strategic that they steal money for one side and they fix the other side better. The problem is not UNRA. The problem is having weight on one side of the road. The trucks which come in from Mombasa, they come when they are heavy, but they leave when they are empty. So they don't create damage on the road, on the side of the road which should be taking exports. They create damage only on one side where the imports pass. So that Jinja Road we have is the balance of trade of Uganda. It is written there on the road, and we need to change that. The number 5 reason why our incomes are not growing when GDP is growing is the fact that our GDP is largely produced by foreign-owned businesses, and who repatriate the money that they have made. I made a sample there of the top contributors of our GDP MTN, Nile Breweries, Coca-Cola, the ShopRite before it went, it was representing wholesale, trade and retail. Then we have Shell, banking, and so on. Now, you'll find when you look at Johnny's list, John is the Commissioner General of URA, the list of top taxpayers, me as an analyst, I look at it. You see that most of the companies, the top 100 companies, the ownership is foreign, most of them. And as you know, in Uganda we have an open capital account. You make your money, take it. Some people were saying, no, what do you do? Close the account. Don't allow people to take the money. Is it yours? Someone has brought his own money, made it, and he has made the money. Why do you stop him from taking it? Why didn't you stop him from bringing it? So some of these conversations, we need to have them. How do we support now our local business community to ensure that we can enter into these areas where GDP of Uganda is being generated? I'm so happy now that MTN has initiated a PLC. I hope Ugandans realize what that means, and many other companies, you are going to encourage them to do the same, so that Ugandans can now partake in this success. If MTN is selling a lot of data, let Ugandans also share in the dividends which are made at the end of the year. We have also high concentration of labor in agriculture as another problem, which is making us having an economy expanding and the incomes are not growing. Why are we saying this? The numbers are there. In Uganda, 72% of Ugandans who are working, they are in agriculture. The sub-Saharan African average, which is the worst performer, is about 53 people in Africa. The average for the world is about 27 people out of 100. In Malaysia, only 10 people are working in agriculture. In Korea, only 5 people are working in agriculture. Now, some people don't understand economists when we say this is a problem. They say, how can you say agriculture working there is a problem? It's a problem because agriculture has low income elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand measures response of people to changes in their incomes. When your incomes rise, how do you respond? Which items are you likely to buy more? And so on. Now, agriculture tends to have the lowest response when people get money. I was eating and taking coffee and tea a few months ago when I was not PSST. I was putting one tea bag in my cup to have a cup of tea. Do you think now I put 4 that I'm PSST? No, I still put one tea bag. So the tea farmers in Uganda are not taking advantage of me. Who's taking advantage of me? The manufacturers. Because I have to buy suits, I have to buy more data to call, I have to buy more fuel to move around, and so on and so forth. So what we are saying is, in economics, if you want to transform a country, get people out of farming, get them into factories, into IT centers, into service, oriented, modern economy. And in Uganda, we are not yet there. And we are showing on the second graph there that actually agriculture's contribution to GDP has gone down. Agriculture used to contribute 54% of GDP in the 1960s. During Amini's time, it even increased to about 70%. Actually, that should show you the challenge with agriculture and the economics. In Amini's time, the economy nearly collapsed. And what remained here was subsistence agriculture and coffee, people growing coffee. Now, when the economy of Uganda is growing quite fast, in the years which we have witnessed, agriculture has gone out of GDP. What is contributing more GDP now is services and now industry is also beginning to peak. The last factor I wanted to mention is low level of manufacturing. When you look at Uganda's economy, our value added as a percentage of GDP first crossed the 10% line in 2011, a few years ago. In the history of Uganda, we have never had manufacturing crossing a 10% contribution to GDP until 2011. Slightly there, when you look at the extreme right, now we are beginning to peak. How do we keep the momentum to ensure that manufacturing starts to contribute substantially to our GDP? And which type of manufacturing are we doing? How do we integrate this manufacturing in the global economy? The entire Africa contributes 3% of the global GDP from manufacturing. And that 3% comes from mainly South Africa, Egypt, and Morocco, a few countries. So we need to work on incentives that can make us develop the manufacturing subsector, because it has a high multiplier effect on the economy. Having said that, we need to ask ourselves, what exactly is the issue with Uganda's economy? We have about 5 major issues in summary. The first is that although agriculture's share in GDP has reduced to 23, Ugandans employed by the sector have stagnated above 70. That's an issue. We are employing most of our people in a sector which is not contributing to GDP. That's why we have low incomes, that's why we have poverty. The second issue is that although the share of industry and services in GDP has increased to 26% and 51% respectively, Ugandans employed by the sectors, those two sectors, have stagnated at 8% and 21%. This is another policy issue we need to look at. Why are industries and the services which have contributed now more to GDP have taken the place of agriculture and not creating enough jobs? That is the issue we need to discuss. And as private sector, you need to tell us what is constraining you to employ people? What is destroying the jobs in the sector? What can we do to make the sector job mainstreamed? These are some of the conversations we need now to start having. And then government, we are focused and support those areas. The third issue is that Ugandans are stuck on land. The rural population in Uganda is 73%, almost matching that of agriculture. Now, some people, we don't understand what it means to stay in this environment here of Chankwanzi when you want to develop an economy. Sometimes we don't understand. We need, Honorable Prime Minister, you legislated in Parliament that we need to have cities. But you know, cities are not legislated. Cities are developed through conurbations, by bringing activities in areas which can attract other activities, and all of a sudden you have a city. We need to start looking at serious zoning of Uganda where we want these cities, and then put up the industrial inertia there. It is industry which drives productive cities historically. Without doing that, we can legislate and demarcate, welcome to this city when it is a rural area. And we have it in the country. The fourth, why are we promoting cities? Because Even government finds it easy to provide services when people are staying together. Water is easy, other utilities. But now, in Chankwanzi, how do you provide tapped water? One person is here, another, the neighbor is a kilometer or two away. How do you pipe that water to a house? The unit cost is not working. Then half of the GDP in Uganda is informally produced. And therefore we need to see the incentives to formalize. These ones we know very well. The last one is the incomplete demographic transition, whereby our death rate has reduced. You know, Ugandans are no longer dying the way they used to die. Death rate is low. Life expectancy has increased. Now on average, a Ugandan is expected to live up to 63 years. Those who die below 63 is an accident. Those who are above 63 is a bonus. But now you'll find, even when the life expectancy has increased, fertility rate is stagnant. It's not reducing at the pace it should be reducing. What is the reason? That's what we need to interrogate and address. Now, our development agenda. The current development agenda of Uganda is enshrined in National Development Plan 3, NDP 3. That book, I know private sector, you don't have time to read things. I've read on your behalf that book. It's a very good plan in terms of ideas. But we now supposed to reduce it to implementation plans of those ideas. And then when I arrived the first week as PSS in finance, I told my colleagues, from today, the National Development Plan is going to inform the budget. And to inform the budget, NPA go and do what we call program implementation action plans. How each of those 18 programs is going to be implemented. And they went and did those PIAPs. That's what is informing our budget now. We are in the budgeting process. And here also we shall get your views. But by and large, let me tell you, in Uganda, whatever we are discussing, we have discussed it before. And it is written in that book. What is needed now is the discipline of reducing it to actionable plans, and we implement it. So the goal of that plan, to summarize the plan for you, is to increase household incomes and by extension to improve the quality of life of all Ugandans. The quality of life of Ugandans. The vehicle to achieve this has been identified: industrialization, employment, and wealth creation. No rocket science needed. Before we do these things we have mentioned here, we shall try other things, we shall not succeed. The objectives of our industrialization agenda under Vision 2040, they are three. Only three major objectives for our industry. Number one, we want manufacturing sector to contribute 31% of the GDP of Uganda by 2040. Currently, I've shown you, it just crossed 10% recently. We want it to go to 31% by 2040. Secondly, we want the manufacturing sector to employ 26% of the labor force. The jobs should be in industry. And number three, we want our manufacturing sector to produce 50% of our exports, because that's where the money is. You export manufactured goods, you earn a lot of money. That's how East Asia has grown very fast, developed actually, because they managed to go into, okay, let us first receive His Excellency.
do you have left? So, ladies and gentlemen from the private sector, I didn't know you also want to watch. You kept on watching, and the PSST said, you know what? These guys are watching. I think you normally watch NBS, NTV, whatever, and you want to see now the actual thing because you're in Chankwanze. Fine, go for it. Let's welcome our president as he joins us. And I'm glad that he's being received by our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, and also our Minister of Lands, Honorable Nabakova, and our Chairperson of the PCF Board, Ms. Barbara Murana, and also the Vice Chairperson of our board, Mr. Emmanuel Katongole. The President is coming out and he's going to be with us for at least 3 hours. Would like to welcome you, Your Excellency, the President, and we are glad to see you. We have been waiting. This is an opportunity for us, and the CEOs of the various private sector and government agencies are very happy to receive you. We are glad, and I think you can wave to the CEOs, Your Excellency. Wave to the CEOs. They are here in Chankwanze for the first time in the history of Chankwanze that they are hosting business people in this place. And they have done chakam chaka as well. They did the drills in the morning. So, Your Excellency, thank you very much. You're welcome. And we are glad to have you here when we are almost dressing like you. So what an opportunity and what an honor for us to be part of this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to now have, as the President gets to his seat, we will have the national anthem and the East African anthem, and then we'll have an opening prayer. Let's get ready for the national anthem and the East African anthem.
West Africa, North Uganda.
Let's have an opening prayer from Ms. Barbara Ofono, who's the chairperson of the Uganda Entrepreneurs Association and the proprietor of Victoria Schools. Ms. Barbara Ofono.
Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this great opportunity where you have gathered the CEOs, you have gathered people from the private sector and the government. Thank you so much for our president. We thank you for the direction that you are giving him. We pray that as we gather here, may you give us insight, may you give us direction and conclusions that will build this country for us to be able to realize our vision 2040 as we secure the future. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we have prayed. Amen.
Thank you very much. We can now take our seats. Your Excellency, the President of Uganda, you are welcome to join us to NALI. I want to say, Your Excellency, the members you see here are from the private sector. They are CEOs of various businesses. And this is their first time to come to Chankwanzi. They used to watch you and they are here and they're excited. And they want to appreciate you for hosting us here and meeting all the costs for us to be here. Let's thank the President. Your Excellency, as we proceed, I also want to let you know that people from the private sector, from the business, are not so much aware about protocol. So if they make any deviations, you have to understand that for them, business is business. They might mix the orders as they make the presentation. So Your Excellency, the President, the Prime Minister of Uganda, we also have the Honorable Minister for Lands, Honorable Nabakoba. You're welcome to join us today. We are glad that His Excellency accepted to invite the business community here to have a discussion. We asked him in August this year when he was inaugurating the Presidential CEO Forum, and indeed he has honored what he pledged to do. Your Excellency, you cancelled twice this particular event and you gave us a short notice, but still the CEO said we must come, and they are here. We have also ensured, as the makeup of the PCF, that we have CEOs from various government agencies. And I want to inform you, Your Excellency, that all your key government agencies are being represented. We have the Commissioner General of URA, Musinguzi George, is here. We have the ED of PPDA, Benson Tuhagwe, is here. We have the ED of Uganda Export Promotion Board, Eli Tuinowe, he's also here. We have the head of the URSB, Mercy, where is Mercy? Kainoboshi is also here for URSB. We have the ED of the Uganda Development Bank, Patricia Jongole. Patricia is also here. We also have the ED of Uganda Development Corporation, Patrick Birungi is also here. Patrick was there, yes. We also have the ED of the Uganda National Housing Construction, Engineer Kenneth Keijuka is also here. We also have the ED of the Petroleum Authority, Mr. Ernest Lubondo is here. Your Excellency, we have various business people here. We have members from the agricultural sector. Maybe they could stand. Those in agriculture, agricultural processing, the entire sector of agriculture, please stand up. We have those in manufacturing. Those in manufacturing, sometimes agriculture and manufacturing are mixed up, please stand up. These do various, some of the top factories you have in this country are being represented. We have those in logistics, transport and logistics, they are also represented. Where are you? Yes, Safe Border and many others. We have those in real estate. Please stand up. I think we have Judy Lugasida from Knight and Frank and many others there as well. We have those in tourism and hospitality. Tourism and hospitality, they are also represented. We also have those in social enterprise businesses. Not it's all sectors, but social enterprises is where you go into the community and do business with the people in the community. I think we have, yes, Dr. Gudra, yes, and the rest, they are also here as well. There are so many others I might not be able to go through. And we have young entrepreneurs. Your Excellency, during COVID, we lost some of our top entrepreneurs, as you know. We lost your friend, Mrs. Regina Muchibi of Uganda Funeral Services. The business is now taken over by his sons. And I wanted to show you another generation of young people. Joseph is there. He's now taking over the mother's business. There is another lady that we lost, Hajat Aisha. There is Don, 23 years. Where is Don? Taking over the business. So we wanted to show you that there is a future of young people taking over these businesses. Your Excellency, I also wanted to introduce you the members of the board of the Presidential CEO Forum that are here, starting from our chairperson of the board, Ms. Barbara Murana. I would like to introduce our vice chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, that is also here. I would also like to introduce Mr. Matthias Katamba, the MD of the DFCU Bank, that is here. I would like to introduce Daniel Birungi, who's the ED of the Uganda Manufacturers Association. I would like to also introduce your own Irene Birungi Mugisha from your office that is helping us coordinate. Atieny, who is coordinating our activities. And I also want to introduce myself, your Mukunja girl, Ruth Bez Kamusoke, who has been chairing this particular event. Oh, yes. And I also like to introduce Ramadan. He's a member of our board. Your Excellency, when you came in here, you phoned us when we've already started. We had a presentation from Atenyi, Irene Mirungi, and she informed the members about PCF and what we intend to achieve. And then you phoned us in the middle of a discussion which Ramadan, the PSST, was making, which is key to see how the private sector and the government can work together to achieve the Vision 2040. And I would request him he will proceed after my remarks later on. Your Excellency, we are here for today. We came here yesterday and we'll be leaving tomorrow. We do expect to share with you what we can do as the private sector to support you to achieve, but also what we need from you to achieve Vision 2040. We have selected a few of the members of the business community to ask you questions, and if time allows, if you decide to stay longer with us, we'll give an opportunity to so many others. They have already raised their issues on papers, and we'll be asking 5 or 3 to raise their issues, and then you'll be able to respond. Okay. Yes, Your Excellency, as we proceed, I also want to thank you for appointing a number of women in key positions, but importantly, for appointing the Prime Minister, who is a fisherwoman. We are so happy with her in the private sector. You see, Your Excellency, in the private sector, we want people who are able to make decisions here immediately, and she's been able to demonstrate it. We would like to thank her very much, and we request you to support her to ensure that all the issues that we need, she can be able to handle even before coming to you. So, Your Excellency, we are glad with others as well that you've appointed, and we know there will be a difference. As we proceed, I wanted to ensure that I invite the Director of NALI to be able to, we are hosted by NALI, and we have received VIP treatment here. We went through a drill at 5 a.m., and I can tell you all these CEOs have gotten the practice of what you go through with your chaka-mchaka and all those. And if you say now, what did you learn? So many things in Swahili that they learned, they are able to practice and show you, and maybe they will show you later. So Director Charles Chisemba, I would like to invite you to be able to, as our host, to give some few remarks, and then we'll go to the next presentation. Thank you.
Okay, as Director Mary comes in, this presidential CEO forum was founded in 2020 and is a presidential initiative registered under the Companies Act. Purposefully,
His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda and Commander-in-Chief of the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Right Honorable Prime Minister Robina Nabanja, Honorable Ministers, Board Members, Managing Directors, CEOs, Permanent Secretaries, Directors, Commissioners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, it is my great pleasure and honor to receive you and the members of the CEO Forum at the National Leadership Institute, Chankwanzi. On behalf of the NALI fraternity and on my own behalf, I warmly welcome you. Your Excellency, NALI has a historical significance in the political history of Uganda and the national resistance movement in particular. It is not accident, therefore, that NALI exists and that most government MDAs find themselves here. Just as Mecca is important to the Muslims, Rome to the Catholics, Canterbury to the Anglicans, so is NALI to the national resistance movement. Your Excellency, by coming to NALI, we remind ourselves of the mission and vision of Uganda. We reflect where we came from, where we are, and where we are going as a country. It is always very important to refocus and assess ourselves whether we are still on course or not. In the context of Uganda's vision, that is socio-economic transformation, NALI has a mandate. Our mandate is to realign our understanding and knowledge in order to churn out leaders who espouse objective leadership ideology and philosophy that borders on the understanding that men and women of Uganda are the levers and primers of Uganda's socio-economic transformation. Leaders who see Uganda's social, cultural, and ethnic diversities as an advantage. The patchwork mosaic created by such diversities is what makes Uganda a country with unparalleled beauty and heritage. Leaders who see themselves existing for the society's good, who put their people above self. Transformational leaders, dialectically minded and not floating on fantasy and dreams. Your Excellency, these are reflected in the modules we teach. Our vision is to transform NALI into a center of excellence. We cannot do that without your support and guidance. We in leadership are determined to work hard to transform this institute into indeed a center of excellence. I have no doubt in my mind that given the support and goodwill from the national leadership and our dear partners, NALI will stand out among the key drivers of the Uganda socio-economic transformation. The coming of the CEOs to NALI reminds us of our continuous struggle to liberate our people from economic dependence. I'm sure they have enjoyed their stay here, and we are grateful for the support NALI has enjoyed from our partners, UNRWA, URA, UBOS, CIPLA, and many others I cannot mention. Your Excellency, with these remarks, I wish you a happy stay at NALI and wish the forum a purposeful and constructive deliberations. For God and my country.
Okay, that is the director.
Thank you. You see how the CEOs respond. They show you that now, Your Excellency, even the salute we can now. These are now transformed cadres and ready to serve you and support you. I would like now to invite the chairperson of the PCF to say something, and then we should be able to proceed.
And the head of state. Now, this retreat is comprised of the three, and that is the CEOs of both private and government agencies. Of course,
I think some of us need a stool because kind of fighting this. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Uganda, in absentia, the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, the Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He's not physically here, but he's with us. Also the Minister of the Presidency of the President, not with us, but with us. All permanent secretaries, leaders of different MDAs that were mentioned, URA among one. There were so many that were mentioned. All CEOs here present. Your Excellency, I do have a speech in front of me that I could talk about, but if you allow me, I think I'll just speak from the heart, if it's okay. Your Excellency, we'd like to thank you on behalf of the board of PCF for honoring us and bringing us here. Now, people got it wrong. Actually, when I came here and I talked to the president, he told me that, you know what, Mwala, ulino kuleta abantu bo wano. And I remember I said, I don't know if you remember. And I said, tunasobola kasana, uniformu, bichi. So I got to go together with my coordinator, who also said, no, Chairman, let's bring them here. Your Excellency, the people who are here, like Ruth said, after the 3 times that we have cancelled, I'm not blaming you, of course we don't blame Omukuru, but the people who are here are just a very few of people who wanted to come. So you call us again next time, we'll be here with a bigger crowd and also with more things to talk about. Okay. Okay, for complete disclosure, I did not wake up in the morning. I am sorry. But next time, I will wake up in the morning and run. Thank you, Mr. Kisembo, for taking us through. Your Excellency, PCF, and I talked to people the other day when we were in Dubai, and I said, I think what you would like is to get the word from the horse's mouth, so to speak, to go directly to the people who are out there in the trenches. I think here we're in a military situation. Yes, you could go to the generals and the majors and all those people, but I think sometimes when you really want to know what's happening, you go and talk to that private who's out there in the trenches. Your Excellency, these are the people. These are the CEOs who are out there in the trenches on a day-to-day basis, here coming to talk to you, and that's what PCF is all about, and that's what we are here to help you do. So we thank you for being able to institute it. Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, our Secretariat has been very busy in this time of COVID. It's a time when things have been difficult. The economy has been difficult. The health situation has been difficult. But I am really happy that they have been able to achieve a lot more. But I suppose it goes back to what we're trying to get. We're trying to create a Uganda that we will all be proud of. A Uganda, as we say, should be, I know my brother Ramadan was talking about where we are. We don't want to stay there. Uganda can't stay there forever. We want this country to get to a position where people will look up to us. I think right now people are looking down to us. The people that you have here, these CEOs, are here for that same vision, to help you make sure that Uganda can get to that place. That's why when we put together PCF, we said we want Uganda first. So each and every one of us here has their own personal challenges, own personal issues. But what we are saying, let us put Uganda first. And when we are here, when we are talking through PCF, let it be about getting Uganda to that position of greatness. Dare I say, we talk about 2040, but why not 2030? And I think it's possible if a lot of the things that we have, because we already have a lot of these plans, we have the NDP3, all these things are there. But it's what stops us is, I think, some deliberate actions and some accountability that is never done in order to get to these places. We believe that if we do these things, Uganda could be on top. But until we do that, I think we'll always be challenged. So there are many things that we're asking for. There are many things that PCF would like to achieve. But I think I'm going to just talk about 3. When we're in this, it's not only COVID. I think COVID has just shown us that you have to act a little bit faster. But as PCF, we're saying that we do have the MDAs and we do engage with them, and that's all good. But if private sector is going to be the driver of this economy, we believe that as private sector, we have to be in the room where the decisions are happening. And to us, that is in cabinet. We believe that if we had presence in that room as private sector, when these decisions are taking place, we could quite quickly tell you that maybe that one is not the right way, maybe you need to think about different things. So that's the first one, Your Excellency. How can we get private sector in that room where it happens? The second point, Your Excellency, and I know this might be a little bit controversial, but abooluganda vita webikonagana tebyatika. this is a personal situation. I think my younger brother was talking about how productive our population is. And I personally, I think even from your late Musei, what can we do about this population explosion? Is there a way in which we can retweak it into maybe just bringing it down a little bit, because it's not productive? That's personal, that I do believe that this population explosion is not healthy for us as a country. The third point is, from my experience at Uganda Manufacturing Association, I believe that it has been evident that when people get together in associations and they can clearly articulate their points, it does help and quickly get to their solutions. So what am I saying? I don't know if we can put it a law or something like that, where we say that any category of business has got to join an association, whether it's UMA, it's PSFU, whichever one. But once we have these associations and we can strengthen them, then they can easily and quickly talk about the challenges that they're there. As PCF, of course, we would say that we would be happy to coordinate all that, but we believe that that's where the strength, if people are together and can get their ideas together, I think that would really help us. Your Excellency, I'm just going to talk about one point that my younger brother talked about. And I know, once again, he's my brother, so we won't fight. There's one point he talked about productivity, and he talked about exports. And he said that no organization has been able to take advantage of the window of 80% export. Your Excellency, I think we also need to be realistic. I always give this example because I like football. If you're in a certain league, you can't expect somebody to play in the English Premier League when you're still down here. So we are saying that rather than saying that you're going to start off at 80%, why don't you make it a sliding scale and say, because, Your Excellency, all these people, a lot of these people that you have here, everybody has a side hustle in agriculture. Now, people are exporting honey, people are adding value to sugar, people are adding value to a lot of things, but they can take advantage of the 80%. Some of them can, but some of them can't. But if we can have a sliding scale, so if you're at 20%, you can get this percent, 30%, 40%, and our aspiration is 80%. But to say blanket-wise that it's 80%, that can't happen. And I think these are the things that we need to talk about and say, if we want to transform Uganda quickly, what are those quick wins that we need to make? What are those initiatives that we need to take to help us to get to that place? As I've always said, Uganda is my home. As Stanbic says, I do not have any other place to go, so I need to make this a better place, not only for myself, but for my children and my grandchildren. So as PCF, we're here to help in any way that we can, and we thank you for choosing to be our patron. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Good students. Thank you very much, Barbara Morana, for that. We are now going to go into the presentation that we are having, Your Excellency, and Ramadan, who's your PSST. He's another fisherman that you put there to fish for us, and we are very excited with whatever, because he used to see what was not happening. Now he's there to make sure it can happen. Ramadan, come and share in
very
summary
interesting
how you're going to support us in the private sector to ensure that we are able to contribute to achieving Vision 2040. And probably a bit down, we are in 2021. What would happen in 2022 and 23 and 25? Ramadan, please come here.
But not look down upon Uganda. Very interesting statement. Other countries and other people should look up to Uganda, but they shouldn't look down upon Uganda. That means that we need to work hard.
Your Excellency, the President of Uganda and the Commander-in-Chief of our military,
Let's listen into
the Right Honorable Prime Minister and Minister also for Lands, all protocols observed. Your Excellency, you found when I was in the middle of the presentation, and this is your forum, I'm aware of that. It's a presidential forum. We want to interact with your private sector. I'm going to be very precise in the remaining half of the presentation so that we can have a discussion. You found me, Your Excellency, when we were talking now about the current development agenda for Uganda and the role the private sector could play with us in the government to ensure that we achieve this. Our development agenda is mainly enshrined in your strategic guidance, in the NDP3, and in the NRM manifesto. And I'm very aware of all of that, and we summarized it here for them. The goal of this agenda is to increase household incomes and by extension improve the quality of life of all Ugandans. And we committed to use the vehicle of industrialization, employment, and wealth creation. So this is a period, and you already told us, of moving from just focusing on things which government provide, like roads, like water, like schools. Those are constant. We shall always provide them, but work on incomes and wealth creation for the households. The main objective for this, we want to see that we can pull our people out of subsistence, especially living just to survive and be ambitious to make money. Despite the COVID impact, this agenda is still valid, and we are going to implement the same agenda going into our next year's budget. There are some notable efforts which are underway, especially in the area of industrialization, the first arm of this agenda, of building industrial parks. The plan is to build about 25 parks across the country, you guided, and a minimum of 3 parks should be built every year. So far we have managed to build 9 parks, or we are in the process of building 9 parks under UIA, and 5 other privately owned parks, a total of 14. These parks, I want to commit Your Excellency and the members of private sector that in my tenure, with the support of His Excellency, I commit to dedicate focus on building the infrastructure in these parks and support them to promote, brand, and market Uganda to quality investors, but most importantly also support our indigenous business people to locate in these parks and do business and make money. The second other area in our strategy is of import substitution. We want to turn, and we have already started, the misfortunes of COVID-19 into an opportunity by converting the country's high import bill into a boost for domestic manufacturing capacity. Before COVID hit us, the total import bill of Uganda in 2019 was $7.3 billion. That is 27 trillion shillings, which we spent on imports, compared to the export receipts of about $3.4 billion, or just about 12.7 trillion shillings. His Excellency the President emphasized this during his several televised addresses during lockdown and in the State of the Nation addresses he has given. This strategy is now part of our development plan, and NPA has prepared an import substitution action plan, and I've already told my team at Finance that we are going to align the budget fully to the National Development Plan so that we can support BUBU, local content, and also ensure that this strategy is implemented. The products which we need to substitute, where we have the capacity to substitute, have been identified. And His Excellency actually started this journey of identifying them when he wrote a paper to Cabinet. When you look at plastics, we are importing, in 2019, before COVID, we imported plastics worth $386.5 million. Iron and steel, we imported $369.4 million. Pharmaceuticals, we imported $281 million. Edible fats, we imported $248.4 million. Cereals, we imported $236.4 million. Pepper, $162 million. Salt, $133 million. Sugar and confectionaries, $96.6 million. Wheat, $87.5 million. Rice, $66.6 million. Used clothing, $60.6 million. Animal feeds, $20.5 million. Fake hair, $10.4 million. Fruit juice, $1.5 million. Straws, $270,000 US. On these items, analysis has been done, and 10 products and 3 services have been identified to start with. We are going to support the oil and gas so that we can also get the petroleum industry underway, and we are already supporting it. As His Excellency perhaps will inform you the steps which we are taking. We are near the FID. Iron and steel, medical and pharmaceutical. Now, these have been out of the other import list, have been committed by government that we are going to support those who are investing in them, to substitute them. Cereals, plastics, vegetable fats and oil, textiles, salt, fertilizers, sugar and the industrial sugar, transport services, construction, and medical services. These have been identified because of the volume and value we import. Also because of existence of domestic production capacity, and also because of presence of raw materials for them, because of the technology complexity which we can manage, because of the strategic importance of these goods and services to our economy, because of the high potential they have for job creation, and also because they are essential commodities for our lives, the linkages they have with other sectors in other industries, the capital requirements which are not too huge for some of them, and also because already government had started previous efforts on them. But we are not only just going to substitute imports. We're also going to promote exports. And here, we seek to increase the value and volume of manufactured products processed from agricultural commodities. We want to industrialize agriculture so that we don't export our value to others, but we add value, especially in the areas of textiles, in the areas of soft drinks and other processed agricultural produce, but also in cement, in steel, and processed minerals. The expected result here is to increase our manufactured exports from 12% of GDP to 20% by 2025, and also increase the ratio of merchandise exports to GDP from 13% to 17%. These ambitions, they may look small, but we want to be as realistic as Barbara was saying here. The main focus in our export promotion is supporting SMEs to export to regional markets and also to sustain our market share in ESC, expand it in COMESA, but also take full advantage of the African Free Continental Free Trade Area when it starts, to increase our export capacity to Middle East. That's why recently, when His Excellency cleared the team, because now we are no longer spending money on travel abroad. If you want to go abroad, you have to first be cleared by His Excellency and the Prime Minister. Now, the only people that they are cleared, they are allowed, were those going to Dubai. And as PSS, I looked in their budgets. I said, every shilling you're going to spend, you must write somewhere the deliverables. And they indeed agreed. UIA said, I'm going to bring here a minimum of $1 billion worth of investment. I said, sign here. If you don't bring it, you pay back or you lose a job. And others, Uganda Export Promotions Board is there. I told them. And I'm happy that they have come back with these commitments. And I'm going to look for results out of these commitments going forward. The same with China. We need to get into this market of China. We are importing, but we don't export there. We need to get into EU much more. And these are areas we are likely to support, and we are committed. The role of government, therefore, is going to be as follows. We want to support government fully to provide the political stability and security, as well as favorable macroeconomic environment. That's the first fundamental, the security. Second, we want to introduce and enforce policies and regulations, as well as incentives that promote the private investment. We are going to also invest directly or jointly with the private sector in some strategic areas. Recently, we had a conversation on revamping Chirembe mines. And we have taken some decisions, as you learn. And we would want to see our own private sector as well partaking in that. How do we create these consortiums so that when we are revamping it, it's not only the foreign firms that take full advantage. And I think now that we have the investment arm of the state, the UDC, we need to leverage fully our resources to experiment in those areas which are beyond our comfort zones. We are going also to continue lending at preferential interest rates to private sector investments in key sectors, especially via UDB, and also provide tax benefits to key private sector players in selected sectors so that they can be competitive, and promote the local content policy beyond just words in ensuring that the contracts that government is signing every year, these trillions of shillings, we have at least 40% remaining in the country. We also want to improve the funding of marketing of Ugandan goods and brand. So we are supporting fully now the export, those who are in the area of export promotion and also in our tourism. The Uganda Tourism Board CEO recently presented to us a fantastic idea of rebranding Uganda for tourism purposes to take advantage of this slump which has been created, because now everywhere in the world people are looking for places where they are going to go to put off the stress of 2 years of lockdown. We want the destination to be Uganda by putting more investment in branding Uganda as a place of preferred traveling, not just even tourism. And also, we want to improve on resource mobilization to finance all of these plans. URA knows the position of His Excellency the President on our ability to collect tax, and this is where also private sector. I squarely want to look in your face and say kindly, declare fully the business you are doing, such that we can be able to get the money and support these ventures. I want to commit that once the resources are got, they will be spent in the areas where they are creating value for all of us. We want to promote a development-oriented mindset also as government. And I'm happy that I'm saying this in this forum where we are in Chankwanzi with the private sector. As I said at the beginning, I've been driving here for 12 years to talk mainly to government people and a few other youth maybe. But now to see CEOs of our private sector, that they are coming to see that what you are hearing about Chankwanzi is actually perhaps not what it is. Keep coming, you will be able to see what this can actually create for us. We want also to re-engineer our public service to be pro-business, to take decisions quickly, to reduce bureaucracy, to reduce corruption. And that's why we are now investing in systems, automating government, and beginning next year, as the central government votes, we have already written to them, they must procure online. It's going to be e-procurement, not sitting in rooms. We are working hard to ensure that these systems are robust. That's the only way we can be able to reduce the red tape, fight corruption, and so on. We want also to enhance partnerships with the non-state actors, including you, development partners, and others. But most importantly, we want to remove, or at least reduce dramatically, market distortions. There are a number of distortions also which are affecting us. I will give you an example. In the banking sector of my good friend Matthias Katamba, which he leads, there is a lot of protection of the lenders. But who protects the customers of the banks? We have a credit reference bureau. The credit reference bureau protects the lenders so that the customers don't cheat them. But we don't have a customer reference bureau which can protect the interests of the borrowers if the bank is cheating them. That's what we are now working on to ensure that we can have all these things in place. Finally, the role of private sector. As government, we do our role. We also hope private sector could be able to do certain things. The first one is what I already mentioned. Kindly pay your taxes. Don't hide books of accounts. Because now we don't want to introduce new taxes every year. I've told my colleagues that let us carry out analysis. Instead of going easy to introducing new taxes, why don't we work more on enforcement of compliance, such that everybody pays what they are supposed to pay, a little, and then we are able to create much more. And we are working on that. Also, you are the principal creators of jobs and employment. Over 90% of the jobs in formal and informal sectors, they are created by the private sector. How do we ensure that we create enough jobs, but not only enough jobs, but good jobs, the quality of jobs? What role can we play as government? Because now the challenge we have in this country is unemployment of younger people. When they had His Excellency announcing my name that I'm now PSST, I don't know how many CVs I've received. And these are first class. Young people earn the first class degrees. I have a file, I told the secretary, it has grown of CVs. So the good jobs. And also deliver the critical goods and services to the public at affordable prices. 38% of our NDP3 also is going to be funded by the private sector. And you know that plan has a total cost of 342 trillion shillings. Of these, 128 trillion is going to come from private sector. And you are already doing that job. But how do we scale it up and undertake investment in areas which can be able to create more momentum for recovery of the economy and promote efficient flow of capital? Where I come from, I learned from economics, the public sector economics, which I've been teaching, that if you want to waste money, spend it on government, on public sector. And if you want to get the best out of money, spend it through the private sector, because it generates multiplier effect. Do we have this in our country? Is the private sector well organized to do this, to achieve the efficiency we want with this money? Or the private sector also could join the public sector in wasting money? Finally, I would want, very briefly, there are other details, but I think for interest of time, I would want to give you a small glimpse on the state of the economy right now, so that we are able to see where we are going. GDP is recovering very well, because in the last quarter, which is reported, GDP has expanded from 3% growth to 13.7% in quarterly growth. That is between quarter 3 and quarter 4 of the previous financial year, and it is continuing to show us a trajectory of a recovery. Inflation has been kept within the target. Currently, inflation is at 2.6%. The current inflation of November. We have recently a small spike in fuel prices, and they have led to that slight increase in inflation. But we hope this global phenomenon, because it is happening everywhere in the world, in the US actually they are in more trouble. We are hopeful that as it seeds, global issues also get global answers. Some people wanted us to provide the answers locally, quick fix. Those may not work. The third indicator I want to use is the interest rates of banks. The interest rates, however, are picking up now. They are increasing again, especially the lending rate. The lending rate has increased to 19.2% in October from a low of about 16.7% in July. Now, this is not good for the borrowers. I'm yet to study the drivers. The Bank of Uganda will help us. But we need to have this conversation. Why have commercial banks failed to reduce lending rates, even when some of the factors which accelerated these rates have been addressed, or they are being addressed? We used to say Ugandans are not traceable. Now Ugandans are traceable. We have a national ID. We used to say infrastructure is very poor. Now electricity is stable. The roads are fixed, and so on and so forth. We used to say we don't have long-term finance. Now NSSF is collecting about 15 trillion, has about 15 trillion. A large bit of it is in banks. So we need to look at these drivers. What is driving this stickiness in the rates? Because this is something which people are complaining about, and also it's failing our economy. But also, most importantly, how would banks willing to have a conversation with the businesses which have been hit by COVID, with us as government? This, Matthias, we have discussed this before. There are businesses which have been closed for 2 years because they were not easy to space, rather to follow the SOPs. Now, these businesses, some of the businessmen have come to my office and they are saying, banks are charging me the interest full on that money which I have not used for 2 years. My business has been closed. And I went to restructure with them. Now they are saying, no, the restructuring was just to help you to pay in the future, but you're going to pay the whole of it. Which conversation should we have so that we are able to see how do we share in the losses? The principal shouldn't be lost, but at least the interest. How do we share in it? These are conversations we need to have. The exchange rate, I want to report, it has appreciated in recent days, recent months, partly due to the reduced imports, but also because of the strength of, the recession which has been going on in the global economy. We shouldn't celebrate this, and we are watching it as those who are in the economy. Finally, in the state of the economy is the balance of trade. The balance of trade has worked in such a way that the exports and the imports have reduced due to COVID. The imports were $932 million in July. Now we imported in October 511. So we needed to watch these and see what is causing this, which particular ones. I didn't have the time to look at all of them, but I'm going to work with you as private sector. And please, just to know, we are a listening government. Come and we have a conversation with the private sector on issues that affect private sector. The business tendency is showing me, business tendency tests the view that private sector has on the economy. It is showing me that you are, as CEOs, business executives, you are increasingly becoming optimistic about the recovery of the economy. We just need, I think, now to work on the night economy to get back. Your Excellency, night economy, I was told by some economists in their book that money tends to move faster in the night than during the day. So if we want the velocity of money to increase and we recover the economy fully and faster, we need in January, as you promised, to have the economy fully reopened. And as government, we are taking steps to ensure that we open safely by vaccinating people and also by ensuring that we put in place mechanisms of supporting the business community to recover. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ramadan, our new PSST. Your Excellency, I told you that the CEOs are now transformed cadres, and I wanted to allow me in just a minute to invite Lieutenant Colonel Rabu Jumbi to show you that they are really transformed. Come and show him. We want to show the
all of you who have tuned in. Thank you. We're still coming to you live from
Your Excellency, as you have been told, the CEOs participated in morning activities, which included morning run, morning walk, and physical fitness. Allow me to request the CEOs to stand up so that we can sing one song, then also do one physical exercise, and later they will sit down.
Now, His Excellency,
thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Ministers, our directors, and CEOs.
The presidential CEO
It goes like this.
And as already,
Sisi wote ni jeshi, jeshi ya wananchi, mtaenda msituni piganisa.
how we spared time, more than
Hata
3 hours
mzee
to
ni
sit here and
jeshi,
share
jeshi
ideas
ya
with the CEO,
wananchi, tutaenda
with the CEOs
msituni
of different
piganisa.
organizations,
Mnajua hiyo?
businesses, factories,
Haya, let us start.
government agencies,
Piga
and
makofi.
ways of how best
Sisi
Uganda
wote ni jeshi,
Jeshi la wananchi
tutaenda msituni
kupigania uhuru.
hata mzee ni jeshi,
Jeshi la wananchi
tutaenda msituni
kupigania uhuru.
hata na banja ni jeshi,
Jeshi la wananchi
tutaenda msituni.
kupigania uhuru.
Sisi wote ni jeshi,
Jeshi la wananchi
tutaenda msituni.
kupigania uhuru.
Haya. Siasa ekuwe kwa Uganda, siasa
Siasa ekuwe kwa Uganda.
siasa nzuri,
Imara, imara, imara.
iendelee,
Imara, imara, imara.
mzee
akuwe kwa Uganda.
mzee
what you're
akuwe
listening to,
kwa
what you're
Uganda.
hearing in the background is
Imara,
the music in
imara,
But to
imara.
continue with this program, just remind you that it's a live event, a live
Yozi
broadcast.
wakuwe kwa Uganda.
As the president is
Yozi
officially
wakuwe
opening
kwa
the 3-day
Uganda.
presidential CEO forum. The
Imara,
retreat is at the
imara,
National Leadership
imara.
Institute, NALI, in
Imara,
Chairperson.
imara,
Now, the president has
imara.
always actually acknowledged the
So
presidential
exercise
CEO
begin.
forum has a very
When I
good,
say,
great initiative that will
you
help
can
to
all look at
identify
me.
the bottlenecks.
When I say,
remember,
touch
NRM
my head,
listed a
you
10
follow. You follow
bottlenecks,
both the words
but
and action.
these will help
Touch
in
my head,
identifying other challenges
touch
that
my
they will
shoulder,
discuss to make sure
touch my
that they
nose,
are addressed. Also,
touch my
the
nose,
government has been working to
touch
resolve
my head,
the 4 issues
touch my
that
head.
are disturbing or that are deterring
You
the
follow.
economy to grow.
Both physical and
The 4
words.
issues are the cost
Okay,
of
let us start
electricity.
the
You
last
very
one.
well know that
Touch
the
my
electricity
head,
is too expensive,
my
especially
stomach,
for the industries.
touch my
But
nose.
the president and government
I know, you
has
follow
been
both
saying
the-
they want to reduce the
words
cost
and
of
this.
the electricity
Is
at
that
least
clear?
to 5
Okay.
cents.
The last one
So
now.
let's
touch my
see.
nose,
Electricity is still
touch my
expensive,
shoulder,
so that means the production
touch
costs
my
are high.
stomach.
That is one issue that
Asante
these people are going
sana.
to be discussing. Then the other one is the cost
Now
of
you can
money.
have a seat.
When you
Thank you
go
so much
into
for
these
responding
different
to the simple
banks,
exercise.
the rates are very high. The Honorable Ramadan
Aha.
Govi commented about it, that as we speak, the least interest rate
Your
in
Excellency,
these banks is
I
19.
think you've seen that we are
19.
fit,
Remember, some time
and
back,
we are moving with
it
He's very fit,
was
by the way.
around 12,
His
but
Excellency
it
is
has
very,
jumped
very,
from
very fit.
12 to 16.
We need to learn a
and
lot
now
from
to
you. And I told
19.
him last
So that
time.
means the interest, and that is
Your
the list we're
Excellency,
talking about,
we
the
thought it
list,
would be
but
very
the other
important
banks, that
if
will
we invite
lend
some
you
of the
money
members from
at
the
almost
business
20
community
plus
to be able to share with
interest
you
rate. So
what
there
they are
is that
doing, but
issue
importantly,
of
how
cost
their
of
models
money
can be able to
that
be
these people
used
are going to discuss.
support
Also,
in
the other one
addressing
is
some
the
of
cost
the
of
key issues
transport,
affecting
both
the
water
country.
transport,
The
land
first person I
transport,
would
and
like
air
to
transport.
invite
But the
is Dr.
infrastructure,
Gudla
the infrastructure is
Basaza.
there, the roads
Dr.
have been
Gudra
made,
was the first
corner
woman in
to
Uganda
corner,
to have a
border to border.
PhD in
So
ICT.
that one
But
has
that is not the
reduced
story, Your
cost
Excellency.
of
Her
transport.
story is that she's in agriculture right now. She's in agriculture and she's working with thousands and thousands of young people. And I can tell you that many young people are being employed by her enterprise. She will tell you her story. I don't want to talk about it, Dr. Gudra. She has just received an award as one of the best social enterprise in Africa. Last night? Yes, last night. Please.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, it's an honor for me to stand before you and share what we do in the hope that many CEOs around here will also embrace social entrepreneurship. Right, Honorable Prime Minister, it's nice to connect again after our days in Uganda Matters University. I'm Professor Gudla Naiga Basaza, the Managing Director and founder of Good Leisure Farm and Good Incubation Center. We work with youth at the base of the pyramid that we incubate. We have capacity to incubate 500 youth at once, and each of these youth has an opportunity to engage in a business up to the point of sale. We work in 27 districts distributed in all regions of this country, and we are operating in 401 parishes. So far, we have reached 112,900 youth agripreneur champions. All of us are working on the white meat value chain, that is chicken, fish, rabbits, and pigs. As a farm, we employ 275 workers. What have we done and we believe is making a contribution to our country? The incubation program that we run is giving the youth an opportunity to be business people along a value chain that is connected. Our value chain is connected in that we have a market within ourselves. We have also had the opportunity to digitize the parishes where we operate. In each of these parishes, we have been able to provide a projector and tablet that enables the youth to learn, to connect to markets, and to connect within the youth network. The other exciting thing we have done is agritourism that is based at parish level. We run a brand of beautiful districts where we document each of our districts. We actually have a story of the different beautiful places in each of the districts where we operate. What is our contribution that is exciting us? We want to be active in the growth of our country. And we are doing this by ensuring that there is production by the masses. And this means shared wealth and shared prosperity. At the moment, we are able to sell 100 tons of white meat per day. What does this mean in money terms? We are able to put a profit of 200 million per day in the hands of the youth. And I know Musingus can prove this. If we are not the best taxpayers in Chira, we should be among the first 10 taxpayers. We are proud that we are compliant. We are also committed to supporting the parish development model, and where we are operating, we already established learning centers. We are in the process of establishing cottage industries, bistros where we sell our meat, and also farmer service centers. What is the opportunity around what Good Leisure Farm does? I know we are well known among the people who contributed to the COVID-19 call that you had. We are the only people who brought chicken because that's what we had. We want to go more into what we are doing. We want to establish a value addition facility and cold chain to enable youth from wherever they are to participate in the white meat value chain. And this is valued at only $2 million and would be able to supply within our network at least 1,000 tons of white meat per day, which means putting 2 billion shillings in the hands of the youth per day. Our request, we have written a book on social entrepreneurship as a business. And we believe this will be very good for all CEOs. We would like to request you at your opportune time next year, you launch it, and probably you also accept to be one of our ambassadors for social entrepreneurship. We believe that Uganda as a country, we shall make a lot of benefit through supporting the people that we target to be our market by increasing their purchasing power. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gudra. And there's a lot to learn if you go to Dr. Gudra's farm and the number of young people that are employed there. I wanted to bring in another perspective, Your Excellency, in the area of oil and gas. There are so many opportunities, and a number of CEOs need to understand what opportunities are there, but also what needs to be done to get more Ugandans benefit from the oil and gas sector. And I thought inviting Chairman Emmanuel Katongole, who's the chair of the National Oil Company, would actually be very good to tell us we've been waiting, and people need to know they have been asking, Chairman, come and I'll give you 3 minutes, and you also say something as well.
Your Excellency, the President, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, to you colleagues, captains of business and industry, ladies and gentlemen. As I've been introduced, my name is Emmanuel Katongole. I'm a businessman like many of you, and I'm co-founder and chairman of Cipla Quality Chemical Industries. We're involved in pharmaceutical manufacturing, and we have a presence in 21 African countries. But I'm not going to talk about pharmaceuticals and what we're doing to revolutionize pharmaceutical industry. But 6 years ago, His Excellency, the President of Uganda, gave me an opportunity to serve my country as chairman of Uganda National Oil Company. And I shall forever remain grateful to you, sir. There are a number of opportunities and challenges in the industry, but before I give you these challenges and opportunities, let me tell you where we are. I have spent this whole week in the oil fields of the Alberton region. I can assure you, fellow business leaders, that the oil and gas industry is ready to go now. And while traveling through the Alberton region, and you see so many visitors, non-Ugandans, going to see the opportunities that are there, and we see less and less of fellow Ugandans participating, is something that saddened me. All the agreements that will lead to the production and commercialization of their resource have been signed. The host government agreements between Uganda and Tanzania for Tanzania and Uganda is signed. The shareholders agreement for the Uganda National Oil Company is signed. The transport and tariff agreement is signed. Right now, Tanzania has put in place the enabling law that will govern the East African crude oil pipeline. And in Uganda, we have done the first reading in Parliament. And for that, I humbly request His Excellency the President to ensure that Uganda passes that law within the next 2 weeks, and Uganda will be ready to run. CNOOC and Total, I can say, have taken their final investment decision because of signing of these agreements. And when you go to the industry, to the Alberton region, you really see work running. For the Uganda National Oil Company, we've signed these agreements and we are participating. And quite recently, the Uganda National Oil Company was granted right, and we are confident that we're going to play part of the exploration business in Uganda. But on the midstream side of things, the crude oil pipeline is almost starting. We're there. We've reached a point of no return. The feed engineering for the refinery is also going on. A little bit of challenges here and there, but these are not challenges that we cannot surmount. We should be able to go through that. The Kampala storage terminal, 38 companies participated, and we've reduced this to 2. And probably within the next 3 months, we should have a partner to build the Kampala storage terminal. The Jinja storage terminal is functional. For the first time since the terminal was built and was handed over to the Uganda National Oil Company, it is making some revenue, and this revenue is going to the Treasury, to the Uganda National Oil Company, but also trying to address the issue of strategic reserves for the country. I have very little time, but let me tell you, fellow business leaders, let's go out and participate in this resource. It has got the potential to completely turn around our economy. But the responsibility to do so is as good to His Excellency the President, to the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Honorable Ministers, as it is to you and to me. It is for all of us to make sure that we participate and make this resource work for our country. There are a number of opportunities that there are in the sector. We've got material supplies and other supplies. Civil, electrical, mechanical, construction materials, pharmaceuticals, vehicles, equipment, and utilities. This must be done by us. We've got services, accommodation, fabrication, security, medical, catering, transportation, clearing and forwarding. All these are open, and a favorite law that really guarantees Ugandans to participate in local content was put in place. Please go back to your companies and study what it means to participate. There are other specialized services that are required for oil and gas. Yes, they are specialized, but let's go out for partnerships. Partnerships matter. If you do not know, I'm a student of economics, but I'm probably one of the biggest manufacturers of pharmaceuticals because of partnerships. Let's do it. There's midstream development and operations of pipelines and refineries. Design, construction, and operation of ECOP. Dream as business leaders. How are we going to get into this? How can you map your business to make sure that it participates and the people of Uganda participate in all this? Despite there's so many opportunities, there are some challenges that we see. And my brother, Dr. Ramadan Gobi, talked about financing. Oil and gas sector is capital intensive. And it requires investors to have access to large sums of capital. I have always told my board members, let's not always start by thinking about money. Let's start by ideas. Money will always follow ideas. And once we have these ideas, we should be able to address them. But I call upon the Minister of Finance, to come up with with systems that can really allow access to finance, particularly to local Ugandans down there. Ramadan told us that agriculture contributes only 23% to the GDP. What can we do to make sure that with this oil resource, these farmers can access credit? There's some lady here who's been talking about an agricultural bank or farmers bank. Ramadan talks about promoting the SCF agricultural credit facility. Let's do it. Let's move. Time for talk must stop, and we really all move together. Your Excellency, there are challenges in negotiation of oil and gas contracts. But you have taught us to add knowledge as a fifth factor of production. Yes, let's add knowledge. And we've got all these men and women who can really share their knowledge and make sure that these contracts are signed and they benefit the people of Uganda. There's standards and compliance requirements. Let's do it. I know she's on my neck, but I'll end by telling you, fellow business leaders, that we stand at an epoch of an opportunity that we must seize. We must seize and work for this country. It is our responsibility. Posterity will absolve us if we use this resource to end poverty in our country. Posterity will be kind to our children and the children of our children, and they will say, these men and women followed their leader, President Museveni, and they were able to move from a small economy to a developed economy. And yes, we can do it. God bless you.
Thank you very much. You need another applause. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been speaking. Your Excellency, we have so many other people that want to share, but it's also good to hear from you. You say something and then we're able to come back. And I want to invite, we are going to hear more from you've talked about banks, and we have the chair of the Bankers Association. I told him, you have to be ready with Muzei is so annoyed with you. And he said, I'm going to do my best. But he will talk after maybe you have spoken, because it's also good to hear how innovative, what innovations they are trying to do to support you. And we also have many others on the list that I have been able, in manufacturing we had Mr. Deo Kayemba, proprietor of East African Roofings. He also wanted to share with you a practical local manufacturer, and is the new chairman of the Uganda Manufacturers Association. But we have, I think it's been in order to call our Prime Minister to come and address, and then invite Your Excellency, yes. I have been informed that President wants to, he has warmed up, he wants to say something. And I can't invite him without first inviting you, because you invited us here. And you need to talk to us as well before we call His Excellency. And after His Excellency, probably he will sit in again and be able to listen to more of the members. Me, I'm your fan.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, the Honorable Minister present, Minister of Lands, the Honorable Nabakova, the Permanent Secretary is present, the Chairperson of the Presidential CEOs Forum, members of the Presidential CEOs Forum, Director NALI, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, allow me to thank you for coming to officiate at this important retreat. Your Excellency, in August this year, CEOs requested you for this retreat here in Chankwanzi. And here we are, barely 3 months, and this is happening. We thank you for enabling this retreat to take place. On behalf of all Ugandans, Your Excellency, allow me to thank you for your guidance through the first and the second waves of COVID-19 pandemic. We are confident that you will navigate us through the most feared South African Omicron variant. We are confident. Thank you so much for prioritizing life against everything else. Your Excellency, we can now talk of development because we are still alive. We all know that COVID-19 has greatly affected the economy. And we all know that the economy will be open next month, like most of you have already alluded to it. Your Excellency, we know how Uganda was in 1986 when you took over power. We know where we are currently, and we have a lot of hope that with you as a focused leader, Uganda will be recognized as a high economy in the future. I want to thank you for the conducive environment that has enabled these CEOs and investors to do business in this country, especially peace and security. We are not taking it for granted. We have enjoyed this peace, and of course the infrastructure development, which is a key factor that has enabled development to take place in this country. Today, Uganda is connected from north to south, east to west by good tarmac roads. And the new standard gauge rail, of course, is along the way. And of course, the electricity that people are using to do manufacturing and industries. To the founding chairperson of the Presidential CEOs Forum, Ms. Barbara Murwana, and her team, thanks for keeping the momentum of this forum since Your Excellency launched it in August this year. Thank you for employing Ugandans, all of you CEOs, thank you so much. Your Excellency, following the launch of this forum, you directed that I coordinate different agencies of government to ensure that the concerns of our business people, the private sector and investors are addressed. I wish to inform you that over the last 3 months, we have convened 7 strategic coordination meetings with key ministries and agencies. To mention is the National Planning Authority, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Water and Environment, Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Ministry of Works, Transport, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and Local Government, to track the progress on how far we are implementing your directives, aligning them with the NRM Manifesto, the National Development Plan 3, Vision 2040, and the Sustainable Development Goals. Under the Presidential Investors Roundtable, the initiative which you established during my predecessor's time, which brings together key private sector players and government to address bottlenecks of doing business. We have also tracked progress on key recommendations from the past and proposed options of solutions. Your Excellency, we have also, over the past few weeks, been visiting some industrial establishments at your directive, and promised to find time for others together with my colleague ministers for solutions to problems of our business people are facing. One such tour was to Gulu Industrial Park by State House. The Industrial Park, like you guided some time back in cabinet, that is Park in Buyikwe, where the challenge of cost of power and the need to construct 9-kilometer road network to the industrial park were raised. Your Excellency, our power tariff for industry, you made a directive to have it reduced to US cents 5 cents. The electricity bill was passed by cabinet, as you are aware. It's now before Parliament for further management. The implementation of the US dollars 5 cents will begin in January 2022, like you are aware. The Minister of Energy has come up with a technological options to have the issue of umeme sorted once and for all. Your Excellency, the oil bill, as alluded to by Mr. Katongole, will be passed soon in Parliament. We shall fast track it. Your Excellency, yesterday at the invitation of the founder, Mr. Lalani, together with the Minister of Trade and Industry and the State Minister of Transport, we visited the Roofing's Group plant in Namave. As you know, these are some of the original investors you nurtured, supported and encouraged, and have gone to play a very major role in transformation of our economy. They are now exporting steel materials to Kenya, Tanzania, DRC, Burundi, and South Sudan, because according to them, they are producing quality materials. However, they raised some issues that are affecting the steel industry, and I believe some of them are also having the same issues, which we agreed to address definitely with your guidance. Your Excellency, all industries, especially, and the CEOs present here, want us to put in Uganda first by implementing Ibubu in its totality. My appeal to CEOs is to produce quality products in the required quantities so that we are able to compete domestically, regionally, and of course in the international market. Your Excellency, I have been told that some of our technical people in some ministries are still failing to understand your mission, but we shall force them to understand by all means. Despite your directives, the issue, like the need for government agencies to prioritize sourcing materials from local industries, still, instead of importing what is locally produced, is still being reported. These people are still importing local materials out, and yet our industries within the country are producing the same materials. And therefore, we shall force them to understand that. As a way to get our OPM team to see, appreciate, and implement your vision, as you directed, we had 1 week retreat here in Chankwanzi. Both the political and senior technical officials, and we have really built cohesion. They are now patriotic, according to what I can see. They are ideologically clear, and of course we expect better ways of working with a focus on results while tackling all forms of corruption and wastage. Your Excellency, remember you have that date. I will not go in. I will not, of course you know that you were supposed to come here, but it was not possible because of other engagements. You still have that date to meet these technical people. Your Excellency, as you pointed out, a retreat here in Chankwanzi should be made mandatory for all ministries and agencies, such that we can all be on the same page. Your Excellency, my office, I mean the Prime Minister's office, is committed to working with and supporting the Presidential CEOs Forum to ensure socio-economic transformation. Your Excellency, it's my honor to invite you to address members of the Presidential CEOs Forum. Thank you so much.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister, the other ministers, the chairperson of the forum, and the CEOs. Well, I'm glad you are here. This is a place for removing cobwebs from people's heads. That's why you hear that Uganda is stable, because we always sensitize our soldiers to know what is important for their country. I'm therefore happy to see you here. Instead of eating pork in Kampala and things like that, I'm here. There's also food, but also there is something for the brain. Now, of course, you are business people, each one in a given sector, at a micro economic level. You come in where you think there is an opportunity of business. But you may not be able to know the macro, the overall picture. That's where now the freedom fighters, because for us, we come here as freedom fighters. The NRM, we came in as freedom fighters. We are not bureaucrats, we are freedom fighters. People who had a burden for transforming Africa. I've told them to give you a number of booklets which I have written in the past. When you read them, you will see I talk about all these issues. There is, for instance, one booklet where I said how Africa missed the bus of history. The bus of history was moving, and Africa missed. And up to now, we are trying to catch up. So it's good that in addition to your microeconomic activity, because you are at a micro level, one enterprise you are stronger with, where you saw an opportunity, which is very good, but it's good to be aware of the overall. Now, for instance, I don't think that the business people, including those wonderful commercial banks, understand the potential of Uganda's economy. Barbara, my daughter, is very, very correct. Even the bureaucrats, because you see there are three people. They are the business people, there are we, the freedom fighters, and then the bureaucrats. The bureaucrats, the ones who eat what is there. They don't add on, but what is there, that's what they eat. They may not fully understand the big potential of this economy. That's why Barbara was right when she said, but why do you talk of 2040? Why can't you move faster? 2030. I totally agree with her. Because that 2040 is the view of the bureaucrats. Is the view of the Bamulia Biengede. Bamulia Biengede, the ones who eat what is ripe. They don't know how to ripen things. But for us, we know that it is possible to move much faster. And that's why we took all these deliberate efforts. First of all, create an ideology against sectarianism, because that was part of the problem of the 1960s. The political actors were guided by sectarian ideas. Religion, DP was a party for the Catholics, UPC was a party for Protestants, some Muslims, Kawaka Yeka was a party for Baganda Protestants. Imagine, just rubbish. And the people just wasted a lot of our time. I was there, I was part of those groups. This is the advantage I have. What you fellows, you call history, I call current affairs. Because I was there, I was in those groups. But by 1965, with the student movement, we started saying, omusogakoba, ntebanukiabakoba tebakidi. We started saying that these people don't seem to know what they are talking about. Why do you talk about? And that's where, if I had time, I would, of course, that's where now you, the business people, should come in. Because a business person actually is a modernizer. Because for him, he's after a market. And when I have a product, I don't care about the religion of who buys from me. I don't care about his tribe. I don't look at whether he's a woman or a man. All I want is a customer. And that's how business actually helped transformation in Europe. The middle class, they were calling them in France, the bourgeoisie, were for integration. They rejected those sectarian ideas in France and where there was the French Revolution and so on. So we, the NRM, rejected that sectarian approach. And we said, no, what we care about is prosperity. And me, as a cattle keeper, the people who give me prosperity are not really the cattle keepers like me. Because the cattle keeper has milk, I have milk. He can't buy from me, I can't buy from him. He has got beef, and I have got beef. I cannot buy from him, he cannot buy from me. In Ankole, they also produce bananas. So I have bananas, my neighbor has bananas. I can't buy from my neighbor cannot buy from me. So when I preach Bunyankoreism, I am actually an enemy, first and foremost, of the Banyankore. Because I am against their prosperity. The ones who buy what the Banyankore produce are actually other people. The people who don't have milk are the ones who buy the milk. The ones who don't have the beef are the ones who buy the beef. The ones who don't have the bananas are the ones who buy the bananas. So the idea of sectarianism is anti-business. And therefore anti-prosperity, including creation of jobs, producing products, and so on. So the first thing we did, NRM did, was to resolve the issue of the politics. We brought the politics of interest, and we were against the politics of identity. I am this, I am this. We don't care. What we care about are the interests of the people, dealing with the needs of the people. Hunger, lack of transport, poverty, insecurity. This is how the NRM comes in. And that's how we're able to create the NRM, which united the country politically. Because in 1962, when we had elections, I was there. I didn't vote, I was 18. I didn't vote. At that time, the voting was 21. But my brother Kategaya, who was in UPC, he was 1 year older than me. He was not supposed to vote, but he voted 8 times, actually. So, when they had those elections of 1962, none of the parties could get majority because there is no tribe in Uganda which is even 20% of the population. There is no religion which is even 40% of the population. So once you take that line, you are an enemy of the country. You can never get stability. So for us, when we rejected that, we were able to unite the people. And that's why you see every time we have elections, NRM wins on the first round. Constitutionally, we're supposed to go for second round in case you don't get more than 50%. But we have never gone for second round. Just first round, NRM okubira wekigo. Ekumegerawo. Tewali kuddamu kwonoona budde. The Wanyankole say, you know, when you wrestle and nobody knocks the other one down properly, the Wanyankole say, bagwa chikazi, they are falling like the Wanyankole say, they are fallen down like women. Nobody, it's not clear. It's not clear who has won. So we always knock down these groups, Kisajja, very clearly. So that's number one. And that creates stability. Ideology brings unity, and unity brings stability. That's what I was telling you during the campaign. Then we saw the importance of infrastructure. I don't know whether other people were seeing it, but for us we saw it. And we insisted, although we have got many things, let's start with the roads. And let's start with the power. And then the social infrastructure, the schools, the health centers. And as you came here, you saw the road. I don't know whether it is still in good condition. It has started, needs to be redone again, but from one corner of Uganda to the other corner, east, west, north, south, they are now all, as the Right Honorable Nabanja was saying, they are now linked by tarmac roads. So you have unity and peace and infrastructure, including electricity. The electricity now, the problem is that we have got so much power, we are only using a part of it. Our confused people, without consulting me, you can imagine I've been president here all this time. But they just go and do things without my knowledge. This business of what do you, umeme, nobody has ever asked me about umeme. What I knew about umeme, whatever group they started with, I don't know what they were calling it, they were supposed to do the bidding, to handle the collection of money, to collect money on behalf of UEB. Not to invest and then, so now you generate electricity, then there is a transmission, then you must pass through umeme to go to the factory. What is the role of umeme here? What are they adding on? So that's why we are saying, please get out, Mutuvire. They had not consulted me. Certainly I would not agree to something like that. But now the electricity is there. It is plenty. We are sorting out the confusion created by our Bamlia Biengede. And as Nabanja has said, because I have been very, very firm, the manufacturer must get electricity at 5 American cents. So once you, for me, I know that once I deal with three costs, because remember, business is profits. Profits means the final price of what you sell minus the input costs, the costs you have used to produce the item. And for me, I think the big cost pushers are, one, electricity. And we are determined to bring that for manufacturing, not for nightclubs. Nightclubs, Katonga has said night economy. No, was it Ramadan? Somebody was talking about night economy. Night economy, you know how to, I will not insist, I will not die to give you 5 American cents. But the manufacturer, especially the manufacturer first, manufacturer. We shall discuss which other groups which we can look at, but the manufacturer first. So once I deal with the cost of power, the other big cost is the cost of transport. That's why we are struggling with the railway from Kenya and from Tanzania. The cost of transport. Want that one to come down. And finally, the cost of money for manufacturing, for agriculture, and some of the services, like for instance, tourism, maybe hospitality, maybe even the professional services like medical and so on, and private schools. So we are struggling, therefore, we dealt with the issue of the politics, the ideology of unity versus the ideology of sectarianism. That created unity. We are dealing with infrastructure, which translates into the issue of the costs into the business, into the production. Of course, the other cost is the cost of labor. That one is still down. It's not very high. And these are the... So that one we are handling. Now, once we handle those, of course, we have already handled the issue of labor in a way by introducing universal education many years ago. because an educated population is much easier to skill than an uneducated population. So that's why we insisted on free education from long ago, from many years ago. Again, this is good for business. Even skilling becomes easier when people are educated. But also, an educated population will help business in another way, in consumption, to become effective consumers of production, because their tastes are now different from the tastes of peasants. Then the issue of the market. That's why NRM has been struggling for the restoration of the East African community. We are the ones who struggled with Mzee Moi and Mkapa and Al-Hassan Mwinyi to bring back the East African community, which had collapsed. Because we knew if you produce, where do you sell? If you don't sell, how would the production go? So the NRM has been on the forefront for the unification of East Africa, for the unification of COMESA, for the unification of the African continental free trade area. But also, we have negotiated with the others, the Americans for AGOA, the European Union for EBA, and so on. Now, all these we do in order to create atmosphere for the private sector to come in and produce goods and services which we need so that we don't have to import, but also goods and services which you can export and get foreign currency, but also create jobs for our people, but also expand the tax base so that you have a richer government. Now, then, of course, you have got some other tactical issues, like the issue of offtake, buying, government purchases. Well, I am glad that my daughter, the fisherwoman, the Prime Minister, when I kept looking at these people, the old, the young, and then I said, no, this time I should get some Simon Peters and some because I had been looking at the lawyers and people like that. You know the Pharisees. You know the Pharisees? You know, Jesus was a very big strategist. I don't know how God, his father, is the one who gave him this strategy. You can imagine the man came on earth here. They were the Pharisees, they were the Sadducees, the scribes. They are all there in the Bible. He said, let me go for the fishermen. Simon, Peter, I don't know the other one. But even with the fishermen, remember there was Judas Iscariot. so even with let's watch these fishermen, how they are going to act. We may one day get some Judases there also, but we shall handle them as we go along. So you heard what one of the fisherwomen was saying, that now the accounting officers are going to be forced to buy local, whether they like it or not. And I think Ramadan Gobi must have heard, because part of the collusion is from finance. Finance has been colluding with the other accounting officers to avoid the local purchases. Deliberate. They just, because nobody tells me, they just go on. If somebody told me clearly this one has refused to buy, I would sack him. But if somebody doesn't, if nobody reports to them, then I don't know. So those tactical efforts are also there to support business. So therefore, I'm glad that, but there's something, of course, you may not know at the private sector because of your sectoral angle. You look at things from your angle. The problem of these African economies, even at independence, were that these economies were underdeveloped. They were what we called enclave economies. That's what they were calling them. That's what we were calling them in the universities in the 1960s. Enclave. Enclave means island. You have an economy which is an island where there is a small island of modernity surrounded by a sea of backwardness. Now, in the case of Uganda, at independence, by 1962, the enclave of modernity was characterized as the economy of the 3 C's and the 3 T's. The 3 C's were coffee, cotton, and copper. These were semi-modern, part of the money economy. And then the 3 T's were tobacco, tourism, and tea. When Idi Amin came in with his ignorance, by 1986 when we came in, the 2 C's had collapsed, cotton and copper. The 3 C's, only coffee was surviving. The 3 T's, tourism had collapsed. Tea had shrunk from 23 million kilograms per year to 3 million kilograms. And only tobacco was somehow limping on. So, in the case of Uganda, the small island of modernity had almost disappeared and had been replaced by magendo, smuggling, okusamula, speculation, and ekibanda, foreign currency black market. So the NLM has been able to reverse this, to restore the island, but also expand it. We have now expanded it. But still, what you need to know, and that's why you should really wake up, is that even by 2013, only 32% of the homesteads in Uganda were in the money economy. 68% were in the non-money economy, where they only work for the stomach only. The Bagwere, our Bagwere in eastern Uganda, they call it Okora Ekida Kyonka. Our Acholi people call it Teach Me Ich Keken, working only for the stomach. So you should understand, because this is a big force, 68%. That's why I had to involve the army now. But that 32% who were in the money economy by 2013 were better than the 4% of 1969. 1969, only 4% of the homes were in the money economy. You can imagine, only 4%. But by 2013, it was 32%. But that's still too high. 68%, they are just on the sidelines. And that affects consumption. That affects the size of the market you are serving. like me, who is a milk producer, I would like more people to drink my milk. We were able to wake up these people here. This is part of the cattle corridor here where you are now. They didn't know about commercialization of milk. By 1986, the milk you are drinking in the town was powdered milk from Denmark, where there were a company called Uganda Dairy Corporation would put in water of Lake Victoria and stamp Uganda Dairy Corporation. That's the milk you are drinking when we came to the town in 1986. So we woke up these cattle keepers here. You people, you are only keeping cows for echida chonka, for only the stomach. Produce for the market. And they woke up. Production went from 200 million liters. They are now producing 2.8 billion liters. And we say now there is a surplus milk. Why? Because the Ugandans are drinking only 800 million liters. Why? Because the consumption is, the consumption now is 60 liters per person per year. It used to be 18 liters, so they have gone up a bit. But according to WHO, to be healthy, to keep teeth in your mouth until the age of 77 like myself, you must have drunk a lot of milk. If you don't drink milk, up to the recommended level is 210 liters per person per year. Your teeth will go away. So by this time I will be speaking through with my abaganda bakita bati edibu amadibu amapengo. Mapengo is Swahili. Amachi? Amalimi is when you speak with the tongue, but when you don't have the teeth. Ebyasha. And when there are many? Amalibu. Oh, okay. Katinani bade na amalibu ano nzika nkwanze Now, you can see how Bali Abatunurizi, those families who are not part of the money economy, who are just spectators, the 68%, engeri yabatuleteramo okwenyera when you don't work properly. The economy doesn't move well because 68% of the people are not part of the money economy. They're just spectators. Bakorera echida kyonka, only work for the stomach. And because of that, they don't buy my milk, partly because they don't know, but also partly because they don't have money. Now, if they were buying the milk according to what a WHO recommends, this milk we are producing now, 2.8 billion liters, will be nothing. Because 210 liters times 43 million, you would need almost 10 billion liters. So the milk we are producing would be nothing. It would not be enough. So we say there's too much milk because people are not consuming. They don't have money. You come to textiles. Ekiro, obwana bulwanira blanketi. Mama, Babidi has taken the blanket from me. kubanga obwana bwonna buli under one blanket. They have no bed sheets inside. Now, if with our big families, 10 children, you should be having 40 shukas per home. 2 for on bed and 2 for reserve. Plus the ones of the parents will be 44 pairs per home. But now, what is the average now? If you who are in textiles, what is the average meters per person per year in Uganda, the textiles? So therefore, I want to tell you that you should really now wake up, because we have struggled ourselves. Because we not stole this. In 2013, we had started earlier. There was NADS, then there was Prosperity for All. I am always making these efforts, Prosperity for All, to get all the families in the money economy, produce for the stomach, but also the pocket, all of them. And in our case, we had to do it with Echibaro. But people were not moving until 2013, when I moved in the army. So now you go and distribute. Because the Bambria Biengede would not implement what we were telling them. So in 2013, that's when I decided to involve the army. When I came to visit Ruel actually here, people were crying. But why are you crying? Why don't you produce for the stomach, food security, and also for the pocket, income security? That's when I involved the army. Now, because of the involvement of the army, the Bamukora Chida Kyonka have now reduced the ones working for the stomach only, according to the latest figures of this U-boss, they have now reduced to 39%. From 68, 39%, which means for the first time now, 61% of the homesteads are in the money economy. And you can see it, like because Ramadan is telling you that the shilling is gaining. One of the reasons is that there are more exports now. Because coffee, we used to produce 2 million bags per year. We are now almost hitting 9 million bags. And we are targeting 20 million. And so on. So therefore, and when you do this, and that's where Barbara has a point. Why do you talk of 2040? That 2040 is for Bamria Biengede. It's not for me. Me, I know we can hit it even by 2030. Not only hit, but exceed. Okay, let me give you here one Chibaro. Because of the campaign which we have been doing with the wealth creation, there are some islands of Okuzukuka, of waking up. Like the one of our girl, the one who was speaking, the one of farming.
Dr. Gudula.
Dr. who?
Gudula. Dr. Gudula Basaza.
Gudula. Eliafe, Elinyari, Mayama Amazina Gabazu, Gantawanya.
Basaza.
Huh?
Basaza.
Basaza. Basaza. Well, that's much easier for me. Now, Dr. Basaza, that sort of effort, there are those islands. For instance, there is an island of transformation in a parish called Ruengaju, near Fort Portal, who woke up and they picked our message and they are producing. Their leader, Nyakana, using 1 acre and producing eggs and milk from zero grazing, he's earning 240 million shillings per year. Now, 240 million shillings per year, if you put it in dollars, using the exchange rate of 3,600, that means that family is now earning $67,000 a year. Now, if you take that the Ugandan families are 5 on the average, that means the per capita income of the Nyakana family is now $13,000 per person. Now, if we were to wake up, there are about, the population of Uganda is now 43 million. That's about 9 million families. Okay, let's assume that 2 million of them are in the towns, but 7 million are in the rural areas. And many of them have some land, 1 acre, like Nyakana. If they are all to do something similar to what Nyakana is doing, that would mean a population of 35 million. 7 million families times 5, that is 35 million. If their per capita GDP rose to $13,000, like the one of Nyakana, your economy would be added with $455 billion. Not this billion you are talking of Ramadhani, 40 billion, what? No. Even before you talk about Katongara and his petroleum, just agriculture alone. So I want you to wake up and understand this potential, which is just there. So this economy can jump from below where it is now, below 100 billion, to almost $500 billion in a very short time. Because these people are already educated, they have already gone through UPE, some of them have gone up to S4, they are really educated. It is just being guided and assisted with this parish model. I know this economy will jump up in a very short time. So that's what I want you, the business class, to know. Although you know, but you don't know you seem not to know the potential. You only take advantage of what is already, of the ones who have mukaragana na abamarada kuzukuka. Bali abantu abachari mutulo abo timbamanyi bulungi. You don't know their potential. Their potential is very big. Their potential is very big. They are just there. Yeah. Now you can see this record, how it has changed. You see these cattle keepers. These were the most difficult people. But now they have changed. You see the houses they are staying in. I was seeing them from the air. It's changed totally from when we were fighting here. They all have Mabat houses, here. And the same change can take place in all these families. So now I have an interview at 3. I'll have to go. Then I can come back for 1 hour and hear the other people who are speaking. Let me go. But coming to Barbara's points, being in the cabinet, well, I don't know whether that is a therapy, because one time I put Maria Chiwanuka, isn't Maria, because Chiwanuka was coming to attend my presidential roundtables for the private sector. I said, you come and become my Minister of Finance. Maria Chiwanuka, you know her? Yari. I don't know whether you are not connecting with her very well, but that's not a big problem. Straight away, you give me the one you want, I'll appoint him Senior Presidential Advisor for Economic Affairs, sit in the cabinet, starting on Monday. And next time I do a reshuffle, I will get one of you to be a minister now. But the quickest one is senior presidential advisor recommended by you sitting in the cabinet, because I have those powers. Now, my daughter is worried about the population. Me, I'm not worried about these characters. These my who are running around with children, what? The Shabatia, Kumanga, in 1810, the population of England of UK was 10 million people. There was a man called Alfred Malthus. He was a reverend. He was very worried. So, population, people are no longer dying. Population is increasing geometrically. That's what he said. But food production is increasing arithmetically. He was very worried. But now UK is 70 million people, and they are more prosperous than they were when they were 10 million. I've told you that you people, you are unlucky. I've cheated you because what you call history, I call current affairs. I've been here watching. In 1962, the population of China was 650 million people. They are now 1.4 billion, and they are more prosperous than ever before. The population of India, this one I remember from my head, not that I have checked on the textbook, but you can go and use the writings. But I was, because I had interest, I was following. The population of India was 430 million, 1962. It's now 1.3 billion, much more. These countries like Turkey was 30 million people that time. It's now about 70 something. Egypt was 30 million. They are now 100 and something. Thailand, but Egypt, they made some policy mistakes. That's why the economy didn't grow as much. Thailand was like 30 million. It's now something like 80 million, much richer than they were, in spite of their other issues. So, this population growing at 3%, our economy can grow at 8, 9, 10, even 11% if we do things right. For me, I think we can manage. Of course, some people argue that education for the children and all that, the social expenditure. But we can. Now, the best method of family size management is education. Because what is driving this high population is the fertility rate of the women. The fertility rate has been, I think, 7 children. Now it is what, 5 or 6? Now, if we could send all our children, our girl children, to school, they will no longer agree to have very many children. Even the Hajj, with 4 Hajjats, difficult to manage, but that is his problem. If each Hajjat is producing 4 children, say, sagala njagala akabuto kange, sagala akabuto chibuto bwekiri, njagala akabuto. You know our educated girls, how they behave. Tugenda kukiteeka ko okuzaala ekibuto nikibeera eri takkiriza. So Hajjat bw'azaala abana, Haji Nabahaja Savana, then he can't go beyond 16. So the crucial point is to educate the girl child. Let the girl child be empowered to make decisions. We shouldn't be like Indira Gandhi, because Indira Gandhi, when she was struggling with the Indian population, at one time she decided to castrate the men. So you castrate, you castrate the men. So they went and started castrating men. It didn't help. Let's now katuyingirire ku mwana omuwala. Let's empower her. Agane amugambe hajati nedda abana bamala sagala abanyankole okuregula. I don't want to okuregula kabuto kange mbundi awo nzala bana. Abaganda bakiyita batya to loosen. Abanyankole bakiyita okuregula. How do you say to loosen the something to become flabby instead of being tight? Bakiyita batya mu Luganda? Abaganda balina okuregula.
Tulina okuregula.
Abaganda nga banyankole nali sikimanyi. Okay, so the girl child, let's empower the strategy should be to empower the girl child. The population will stabilize at the fertility rate of 3 children per woman. 2, in future even 2. Now, the idea of business associations is a very good one. It's very good because it makes contact easy, negotiations. But the list of Ramadan gave you the list. Ebintu byetusaka ebweru. Ababulirawo byonna biri awo. Like for instance, now when you are coming here, you can check the import of paper. How much paper we are importing per year, how many dollars we are spending on paper. When you are coming here, you look at these hills of Singo. From Bukomero, from Nakwaya, mile 46 from Kampala, after Busunju. Those hills, this is where we are fighting. I would want to plant, I would like to plant bamboo there. Bamboo, all the way up to beyond Chiboga. And when I was coming here, I saw Muyenje here. It's now has no hair now. These people have cut all the vegetation. I want to plant bamboo, so that this bamboo can support the paper industry. So we deal with the paper, we deal with steel, we do that list of Ramadan. And then, of course, we also export. This economy will expand to 1 trillion in a very, very short time from this business of 40 billion, this low level. So I'm very happy that we have this dialogue. Let me go up and do some interview, then I will come back and follow up, have another hour or 1.5 with the some of your stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. We have several questions and we'll wait for you till you come back. I was just requesting maybe one thing. You might come back when we can no longer take the picture we wanted, because we want to break off for lunch. And I don't know if it's possible to...
No, you break up. By the time you come back, I will be back also.
Okay. Yeah. So we are going to break off for lunch, and we will not close with the anthem until because you're coming back.
Yes.
So when you come back, we will do the needful. Okay? But I want to thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the address and the time you've given us.
Well, I didn't know that Bakunja were friendly people. I'm always afraid of Bakunja. But since I'm beginning to see some good Bakunja, I think Katongo is also Mukunja.
Yes.
And now Mwalawa Fe. Now, Chenkwanzi, you need to know, you are talking of cultural tourism. The word Chenkwanzi is a Runyakitara, Runyoro Runyankore word. It means Enkwanzi, Zebaita mu Uganda, Embira. Embira. Amdoza Baganda bazita Embira. But Banyankore Banyoro call them Enkwanzi. I suspect why they call it Chenkwanzi, you see it is flattish. So during the rainy season, it tends to flood. And when you have got flooded water with the sun, you see it shining as if it is the glass beads. I think that's why they call it Chenkwanzi. I suspect. But Enkwanzi means Embira, Muruganda, glass beads. In case you want to develop a business idea around it.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for those kind remarks, but also we picked a lot from you. And we are looking forward to engaging with you again after our lunch and giving an opportunity to a number of seniors to raise some of the issues. We would have the President go away, and then we'll have our minutes, and they will be here, and then let's stand up as this release, and then we'll give the Chairperson raise up.
manufacturers and various enterprises that have been established in Uganda. I want to thank all of you for being around. We are still together. We are going to go for 40 minutes for lunch, and I would request Irene to please support our Prime Minister over here to ensure and the team and the Minister to ensure that we go for lunch. Please keep minutes, 40 minutes, and then we should be able to be back here. Once we get back, we'll give a chance to the rest of the members to make their issues with the President's club and everybody that has questions.
All right, dear viewers of UBC TV Inspiring Uganda, and of course Star TV Mnyenye Gwanga. Now we come to the end of this first session of the Presidential CEO Forum. The President has just addressed the CEOs. Like I told you, here we have the creme de la creme, like the French people would call it. With me here, I have one of the big people who have come to attend this retreat, a 3-day retreat. First of all, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
You may remove, if you wish, your mask because you asked me. Since I'm putting me, I will put on mine. I'll stay with mine so that there's no contact. Okay. What is your name and who is this big person we have right here?
I'm not a big person. I'm a servant of Uganda. My name is Birungi, Dr. Stephen Birungi. I'm Managing Director of Alphasan Uganda. We are a pioneer company making veterinary drugs in the country. You know, we've been having a challenge in the country that cows are dying. People who are keeping their cows, the drugs which we use for spraying against ticks are not working. So this company, Alphasan Uganda, was inaugurated by the President, was commissioned by the President, His Excellency the President in 2018. And we are now making new generation drugs that will kill these ticks that are resisting the drugs that are available on the market.
Okay, now, how do you conform with the idea of sitting here? You big people, I will call you big people because you're proprietors of very big, magnificent billion companies. to engage the president on what challenges you're facing in this industry so that you can help the economy to grow.
When you see these powerful country presidents like the US, France, UK, when they come to travel, they come with an Airbus of business people. So what His Excellency is doing is what the developed countries did long time ago. In fact, this is an innovation that is going to help His Excellency to dialogue with the business community. We who are doing manufacturing, who are putting millions of dollars in what we do, but we have to know that it's aligned to the aspirations of the country as set by the executive, as set by the president, like the 2040 vision, and of course there is now NDP3. So we as business people, as managers of companies, we are happy that today we are talking to His Excellency the President directly to tell him what ails us, what hurts us, and if what is afflicting the businesses in the country is solved, then Uganda is going to leap by bounds, and we shall see a country transformed.
Okay, the high cost of electricity is still a challenge, more especially for the industries and the whole sector. The Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Nabanja, has just told you here that by January 2020, the price of electricity is going to drop to 5 American cents. Are you happy? And is that period, because from now up to 2020, don't you think maybe it's a long period that may also bar you from doing good business?
Yes, and these are some of the things. I don't know what took so long. What the Right Honourable Prime Minister is doing and His Excellency the President are doing is something that is long overdue. I'll tell you, my company, we pay a bill of electricity between 4 million and 10 million shillings a month. Yes. Now just look at this person who is drying mangoes, who is drying fene, and is running machines. How are they going to afford 4 million, 10 million shillings in a month? This is going to cripple this business from growing from a small business to the next. So electricity is a killer. Of course, we have infrastructure. The president has worked on roads with his government. These are things that are going to make changes for our country.
Okay, finally, as we conclude, Ugandans watching us, you look into that camera, Ugandans watching us right now, the ones you employ, you as CEOs, are complaining that you're giving them very little salary. The president just said that there is low cost of labor. Okay, fine. To you, it's a benefit as CEOs, as industries and all that. But to the last beneficiary, the Ugandan working into your organizations, into your companies, are not complaining, are not happy, are not comfortable with the small you're giving them. Talk about that.
No, let them not be sad. They have very many brothers and sisters who don't have jobs. Yes, the salaries are still small, but the whole economy, as it improves, you are going to see a company making more profit. Don't kill the companies that have come up and say, there are countries which have a very big wage bill and they have run the economies in the ground. So companies are like a microcosm country. You have to manage, even you in your home. You will not eat meat every day because you want people to eat. So let people be happy that they are getting the little, and let them persevere, as we say here now, Vomilia, so that even their brothers and sisters get more jobs, and as we move, the salaries will improve. That one I can assure you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll let you go and have your lunch. Dear viewer, thank you so much. Dear viewers of UBC TV Inspiring Uganda, we now come to the end of this live broadcast. We've been coming to you live from the National Leadership Institute, NALI, where the CEOs of government agencies of the private sector are gathering here to discuss with His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, how best they can curb the challenges to attain a middle income status through socio-economic transformation. I'm called Dennis Blair Kalanzi. The retreat is still on until tomorrow. It is a 3-day retreat. It started yesterday, today, and then tomorrow. The CEOs will depart Chankwanzi. Now, I've had one point that I want to conclude with. They have said that we should, as a country, we should work hard to make sure that other people and other countries are looking up to us, but not looking down upon us. So it is your responsibility and my responsibility to come together and make sure that we take this country to the middle income status economically. I'm called Dennis Blair Kalanzi. I've worked with Mr. Isaac Ankwanga. I've worked with Mr. Kironga Stephen, and of course Mr. Kaya Robert. Now I want to hand you over and our transport man, Mr. Chiemba, the transport manager, who have been with us from when we came here. Now the president will come back later, but those discussions will be private. We have shown you what has been happening. Now, thank you so much, Uganda. May God bless you for God and my country. I now hand you over to Broadcast House in Kampala. Good afternoon.
Guletede MTN Kabode esimu ya smart gyosobola okwefunira olwo n'ogisasula mpola nkugambye yeneerye yakabi ate nga tamanyi endala zonna mu katale ejjirako omuggo gwa yintaneti